I'm 55. I have $1 million. And is that enough to retire on? We're going to dive into that and more on today's show. Hey, my name is Jim Martin. I'm a financial advisor with Martin Wealth Solutions. And thanks for joining the channel. Make sure you like and subscribe and do all the stuff everybody tells you to do. With that said, we're going to dive deep into this question about, is $1 million enough to retire? So there's some considerations and some things you need to ask yourself before you make the decision to punch that ticket and transition to retirement. So one of the first questions you have to ask yourself is about your health. How long do you expect to live? Now, look, nobody knows that, right? Like none of us know how long we're going to live, but we can look at genetics in our family. And if we have long age in our family, then we need to plan appropriately. If we don't have long age in our family, that's not as much of a concern. With that said, none of that is foolproof. You need to still make sure as you're doing your financial planning, you plan out to age at least 93 to 95, because even people whose parents maybe didn't live as long as they had hoped, they might live significantly longer. Remember, medical technology is always getting better. So we need to understand that first. The reason we need to understand that is we need to make our money last a long time. Look, if you're in your 50s or your early 60s and retiring, that might mean a 20, 30, or even a 40-year retirement. And divide $1 million by 40, and it's not as much when you divide $1 million by 20. So you have to be careful there. One of the other big considerations is your income needs. Now, everyone is different. Let's be honest here. If I stack 10 people in a room, I'm going to get 10 different answers on what their income needs are. You need to understand yours. You need to understand what your income need is, how much you need every month to pay the bills, and to live the life you've always wanted to. Now, people oftentimes they get off the rails on this. They get in a position where they think about this and they consider it, but they don't factor in all of the other expenses that exist. So do not be conservative when you're factoring in your income needs. Remember, you're going to have to put tires on your car. You're going to have to put a roof on your house. You might want to travel. It might be nice to eat out and have a nice steak every once in a while, or tofu if you're a vegetarian. The important thing is to factor all of those things in and make sure you know. Now, once you figure out your income need, then you need to look at the next step. And that next step is figuring out where the money's located. Look, $1 million in a 401k is very different than $1 million in a brokerage account. And here's why: taxation. None of us like it, but we all have to pay it. Qualified money, meaning IRA money, is taxable when you pull it out. So that $1 million, you don't have $1 million net. You ultimately have $1 million gross less the taxes you have to pay as you withdraw the dollars. But if that $1 million was in a Roth IRA, that's going to come out to you tax-free, meaning that those dollars stretch further because we don't have an IOU to Uncle Sam. So it's vitally important that you understand the tax qualifications of those. And I encourage folks who do not have a Roth IRA to highly consider taking advantage of a Roth IRA to maximize their potential tax-free growth in retirement. The other big consideration is when you're considering if you have enough money is to ultimately understand what your risk tolerance is, because you're going to have to invest that money. The fact is, let's just play this kind of by ear here. But if you had $1 million and you were going to withdraw that magical 4%, that 4% rule that I don't really believe in, but it's thrown around a lot, so we use it for today's show. You're going to withdraw $40,000 out of this account. When you withdraw that $40,000, you have to understand, if you're a conservative investor and you're getting 5% or averaging 5% on that million, then that money might not stretch as long as opposed to somebody who is investing. It might be getting, let's just say 7 or 8% because they have a more aggressive investment strategy. So you need to make sure as you're investing your money, as you enter retirement, that you're investing for the right amount of risk relative to what your goals are. And you need to understand ultimately what's the rate of return you need to get on your money to never run out of money in retirement. See, there's a lot of considerations as you're thinking about $1 million and your age. There's inflation and taxes, and there's lots of things we're not going to get into in today's video. But it is important for you to know these things before you make these decisions. In fact, as an industry professional, one of the things that I don't like is the fact that some parts of our industry throw out these big round numbers, like you need $1 million to retire. Well, that might not be the case. If you're very frugal, you might need less. And if you spend a lot of money, you might need more. The most important thing you can do is run a financial plan and make sure the math works. Remember, this is all a math equation. The ultimate goal of this is to do the math and make sure that you have enough money to get to and through retirement. But you're not going to know that guessing. So it's really important that you find a qualified financial advisor to run a financial plan for you to make sure you can get to and through retirement. Hopefully, this was helpful. I want to thank you for listening to today's show. Remember, plan well and retire happy.